Hey everyone, and welcome back. In our last video, you learned the basics of how to mock and block network requests. Today we are going to look at another feature. We are going to go a step further and make our test smarter and more like the real world. So what we are going to learn in this video is how to make our mocks give different answers and how to slow down the network to test for loading. So first let's take a look at the dynamic mocking. What is dynamic mocking? Sometimes a website needs to give a different answer based on the information it gets. For example, you might have a login page, for example, that says success when you enter the right username and password and fail for the wrong one. So we can test both situations with one mock. So here is how to do that in this example script. So here you have the Playwright test and you can see the route to the login we are mocking. So whenever we hit the submit button in the login page, it's going to call the API login and we are going to intercept that and then conditionally give the response. Let's say give this response when the username is test user and the password is password123. If the username and password are correct, right, then we tell the page the login was successful, and we are checking whether the value in these two input fields, and then we are giving this response, login successful. Otherwise, if the username and password are not equal to this test user and password123, we are going to return a status 401 and the body message invalid credentials. So that's how we check the information in the request and then mock dynamically. So why it is dynamic? Because according to the username and password value, if it matches these two values, then we are dynamically selecting this using this if else and responding and mocking the response accordingly. So this is very useful. So you have more control now, and you can customize, you can choose the request based on the input conditions. So that's the dynamic mocking. So let me run the test and you can see it in action. So let me bring the browser and the Playwright debugging window. So you can see the test has stopped, and the first test. So like I said in the previous video, you need to set up the route, the mocking steps before, and only then go to the test page. So let's see what happens. So here we see the login form and the login button, and the username and the password are already being entered there. And according to our mock, when the username and password matches the test user and the password 123, it's going to say login successful. So let's see. So you can see the login is successful with a green message, and there we go. So we check the text and the color also. So you can check the color to be the RGB using this value, basically checking the color is green. And then in the next test, we are going to give a different input for username and password. So we are going to get the invalid credentials. So it's going to open the browser again, and this time it's going to the same page. So you can see dynamic response. So depending on the username and password, the response changes because we are dynamically programmed using the if else statement. So for wrong password or username, it's going to respond. The API response is going to be invalid credentials. So we are going to use a username, a different username and a different password. And when I click the login, when the test script clicks the login button, you have that invalid credentials. So this is how you can make your test using the if else or any other programmatic way to make it more dynamic. So your mocking becomes conditionally you are mocking based on the situations, scenarios you defined in the mocking portion of your test. So the test is going to pass because we got the invalid credentials. And the next concept I'm going to share with you is the network delay. Suppose you have a fast internet, but you want to simulate a slow loading internet. So what happens to your app when the internet is slow? You want to show a loading a dot 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 message, not just a blank screen. You can test that. You can even simulate this very scenario, which is very common scenario. We can test this by adding a delay to our mock. So this is the next test that is shown here, and let me see. Yeah, the test starts here. So what this one does is it shows a loading message to simulate a slow network. You might have seen in your mobile phone or in your desktop, whenever the page takes time, we show a Ajax message loading dot dot dot, or a pop-up please wait, or some hourglass or something to indicate the user that the page is loading. So we can just check those loading message or a pop-up please wait pop-up. So this we can actually simulate it, this slow network, by using this Playwright's feature called the route.fulfill. So what it does, we are going to simulate a slowness in the network. So we are doing this by setting a timeout of 3 seconds, 300 milliseconds, which is 3 seconds, and that's why you see the 300 second here. So once we set that, whenever the web page loads, it's going to call the API to load the list of fruits, and we are intercepting that API call, and we are responding it with these two tests. I just put a name here. They are not actual fruit names, but just for the example, I have this tool name, Cypress and WebDriver.io. They are going to be loaded on the page after 3 seconds. So what happens during the 3 seconds? The page is going to show loading dot dot dot. That's how the page has been scripted that way, and we are going to verify that the page indeed shows the loading message, and it is gone after 3 seconds. And you can put any value here, 4, 5, 6 seconds. So let's see how this. So this is actually part of the same test, and the debugger has been here, and we are going to switch to the next test. So here we see the browser window, and you can see the routing setup here, the mocking to simulate the network delay. So we are actually adding a new promise of resolve set timeout. So what it does, it adds a dynamic 3-second delay, and that is what is happening here. So we are adding a delay to the mock, and let me run the script again. So carefully notice now, normally when I load this page, let's see, this is a local web page that is running in my machine. Let me show you how it looks like without the loading mock. So here I have so this is the web page here. So this is a normal page. Actually this is not the page. So yeah, this is the page, the Playwright demo page. It is actually not a local server page, it's a URL. So you can see when the page loads, it calls the fruits API, which is a live API call that the web page is making, and the API is returning a list of fruits, and the page is displaying that. But let's say you have a slow network and it takes time to display this fruits, or in case anything that is being returned from the API, let's say. So we are intercepting this API, and we are adding a delay of 3 seconds, and then simulating that delay, and then after 3 seconds we are intercepting that API. So we are in control now, and we are making that API respond with this Cypress and WebDriver.io. So that's what you're going to see. So let's run the original Let's go back to the test and then continue. So carefully watch here. In the center section of the page is where the list of fruits, or in this case the Cypress and WebDriver, are going to be showing, but they are not going to be shown immediately. We are going to simulate a delay of 3 seconds. So let's see. So you can see the loading ... So after 3 seconds it's going to display the Cypress and WebDriver. So you can see here it simulated the slowness in loading this resource, the API response. So if I refresh the page, you can again see that API is being intercepted and the response is coming from the mocked response. The real response would have been the actual list of fruits, but since Playwright had that mock in the test, it returned the custom API response, but not immediately, only after a delay of 3 seconds. Let's see one more time. So you can see it's like a slow network devices. This is definitely going to appear, so we cannot test it otherwise in a real office network where you have slow network conditions. Maybe there are other ways to do this, but Playwright has this built-in feature that allows us to immediately put our own custom delay time and do this mocking, which is very helpful. And there you go. You have learned the two fundamental concepts of Playwright: network interception and how to simulate the slow loading of the page. So this is very useful when you want to have that custom network delay simulation to check whether your website or the application on the test returns that pop-up message or the please wait message. So this network request to the API we just saw is how Playwright can be very helpful in this case, and you can see how easy it is to do this custom dynamic mocking and network delay. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.